Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. Today I have the CRKT folding Razel. Now this blade came in from a supporter of the channel, so I just wanted to give a shout out to Victor and Caleb down in Carrizo, Texas. So my fellow neighbors just down the road, thank you for the opportunity to customize your knife. So this blade is designed by John Graham. You might know some of his other blades by CRKT. I believe he does the Razel Cliff Compact and the Stubby Razel, just to name a few. And his blades just have a really cool and unique look. You can't really mistake his knives for anybody else's. The folding Razel has a 8CR 13 MOV blade steel with a nice hollow grind, so you get a nice thin edge. It's got excellent jimping, a little on the deeper side, so your thumb really digs into that jimping, which is really nice. It's got the two-sided thumb stud opening, and the blade is riding on 2 nylon washers. Now handling this blade, I noticed it's got really good ergos due to this deep choil, and then your fingers just kind of fall into place right after it. So if you're really prying and cutting and digging into things with this blade, it's definitely not going to come out of your hand. It's got a liner lock safety here, but it does lock it in place, so that liner lock isn't going to go anywhere. You're not going to have the accident of closing the liner and then slamming it down shut on your fingers. So that's a nice touch. That's probably one safety that doesn't bother me too much, so just because it plays a pretty big role on the style and what this blade is used for. It's got black and white micarta style scales. It's got a tip down deep carry pocket clip. And as for the specs of this blade, I'll just put them up on the screen. Now what I'll be changing about this blade is these scales. So I'm going to go from the micarta to a material I haven't really used before. I've seen it on Amazon and other places like Instagram, but I found it on Amazon for a pretty good deal. Material is a glass fiber cloth with resin. So it's apparently fireproof and moisture proof, so it was just really intriguing to me, and especially the look of it, the design. I believe Artisan Cutlery did I think a collab with Knife Center, and they used the orange, red, and black one. But again, I could be wrong, but it did look very similar to this material and pattern, just in a different color. I will be doing a etch and a nice stone wash on the blade. I will also be etching and stone washing the liners too. Now while I was handling this blade, I noticed it was pretty dirty and beat up, but that's one thing I do like when people send in blades, is when they're dirty and beat up, that just lets me know that they actually use their knife. It gives it obviously some character, so I will be cleaning it up. So we're going to take this thing apart, and the pivot pin takes a T8 bit, and then the rest of the hardware takes a T6 bit. So let's take it apart and see what we're dealing with. So these 3 screws here are a little stubborn to get out, but I might have to drill them out, but I will get them out. So now that it's all taken apart, let's get to customizing this. Alright, here it is all customized. Now the scales turned out way better than I expected. And this pattern is just really, really neat. Now, when it came to the original scales, I noticed on the liners that they're each a different size. So what I had to do with the new scales, I had to thin one scale out just, I think it was a little over a 1/16 of an inch. That way you have the same thickness when the liners are in place. So that way it's just the same thickness on each scale, which wasn't too big of a deal. Just had to make some slight adjustments, but everything else did turn out nicely. I also gave everything a nice stone wash, as you guys can see here, nice and dark. I just love a good stone wash. So I think this will look really good when it's all put together. Really happy with the stone wash result. And as for the pocket clip, I took some sandpaper to it and then etched it too, just to match the same darkness as the blade and the liners. I had to make a little custom adjustment to the original pocket clip, that way I could use it as a tip-up carry. And I made the holes just a little bit larger so the pocket clip could fit nicely through the hardware that holds everything together. That way you have less screws and less stuff going on the blade. And really quick, I wanted to mention on the old scales, I took this design here. It's 4 on each side of the scale, and I want to integrate it with the new scales. So you can't really tell from the design of the scale, but I did put them also in this scale too. I just really wanted to keep the original design. There you go, you guys can see it right there. I didn't want to stray too far from the original design, and then I also gave a nice little thumb ramp on each scale, just so it's more comfortable and you have a little bit more grip on the back there. Now, apparently the centering on these blades is a little finicky, so I did get in contact with CRKT. I sent them an email and they sent me for free 2 washers. They weren't the ones that I really needed, but I will give these a try since we do have this liner locking safety. I will put one of the larger washers on this, so that way it's just a little bit smoother. Hopefully that little difference in the tolerance between the 2 washers will allow me to center the blade more and just be a tighter fit, because originally it was way too loose and just had way too much play. So we'll see if it's centered when we put it together, or I'll see what's really going on if it's not centering. So let's put it together. I'll be using a T8 and a T6 bit. So let's get to it. Alright, so here it is all put together, and I think this thing Fits very well with all the dark colors, especially with the etch and the stone wash. And the pocket clip too is well, it's a tip-up carry now, so it just looks really, really good. It's a deep carry now. A little bit deeper than it was before. On the original it was deep carry, just not as deep as this. So basically this will just hide away in your pocket, and it is centered now. That issue has gone away, and very, very little blade play side to side. Before it was very sloppy and you could just barely touch it and it would just smack against the liners. But now you actually have to really nudge on it, and it does fly right open, so that's good. You can do the thumb roll, or you can do the Spidey flick. There it is. So yeah, this thing is running smooth and looking good. So Victor will be getting a nice custom blade back. There is no blade play, which is nice, so it's nice and sturdy. And I decided to keep the liner lock safety just because this knife is meant to pry and take a lot of pressure, so I did want to keep it just in case Victor does want to use this thing pretty vigorously, and he can just activate the lock and that liner is not going to go anywhere. So super happy with that, and I did give this a nice sharpen. Now I usually sharpen every blade after I etch and stone wash it, just because it really beats up the edge, but this thing just really, really cuts. Super happy with it. And yeah, this thing's gonna be going back pretty much brand new. Now the tip of the Razel is, it's really hard to do a test cut, but it's sharp itself. But yeah, super happy with that. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below of how this thing turned out and what you guys think of the scales. I actually really like this material. It was really fun to work with, and super easy to shape. Surprisingly fun. So don't forget to like and subscribe, you guys. Feel free to share this video. And thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.